Hey everyone, it's BDC. Thanks for checking out this video. Today I'm doing a quick video on an update I'm working on for the ArmAGeddon mod for Arma 3. Now, some of you may not know what this is. ArmAGeddon is a mod that plays on the escape from type missions that float around in the workshop and that are also part of the regular game. And except this one is based on the coming of the ArmAGeddon. So basically, you've got everything that's happening while you're also trying to get off the island. It's made specifically for Altus, although I believe after speaking to the gentleman who wrote it, that he was setting one up for Tanoa as well, even though that project's been shelved for a while. So this one's got tornadoes, earthquakes, meteor strikes, just all sorts of hell taking place type thing. And it's also got an effect of the tides rising slowly, so the island is slowly getting flooded. Excuse me. So on top of all that, you've also got enemy CSAT that are trying to get off the island, and they're attempted to be being picked up by choppers and all that kind of thing. So I came across this mod it was probably mid to late 2015. It was originally written in 2014, I want to say, for the Make Arma Not War contest back then. And I got a hold of this many months later, and I had made a balance pass short mission for it. I spent a few days on it, and I rebalanced the AI because they were set on default difficulty and some stuff like that. And I made it to where it was slightly easier to accomplish the goal of escaping and everything, and added a few extra little features, stuff like that. And we played it a few times here and there, and then it kind of fell on the back burner. Well, last week or so, I've been going through and updating all of my Arma missions and doing stuff like that, and I came across the ArmAGeddon mod and said, I need to go in here and check this thing out and get it updated and go through and look at some of the old code and things like that on it. So I fired it up and discovered that much of it was not working. So I went on to the Steam Workshop and was checking out the two mod items on the workshop, and then eventually the mission that is uploaded over there, all by the same gentleman. Super True Eats his name. Really nice guy. And found a lot of people asking questions about, hey, is the mod dead? Hey, AI won't spawn, and all that kind of stuff like that. So that led me to getting in contact with the original writer, and we got each other on Steam, and then had a nice hour or 2 hour long conversation. I don't remember how long it was exactly, but basically at the end of it is he made me a member of the mission portion of the workshop item. So he gave me permission to be able to modify the mission, clean it up, get it working, and re-upload it to the workshop. So that's the point of this video today. Basically what I'm doing is I'm doing a brief showcase of some of the stuff I've added in here. I'm not done with it. I still have work to do, so it may be several days or a week or whatever from the time of this upload. Until there's something that's working again, that's bug free and or hopefully bug free and all that kind of thing like that. So where I'm going to start with this is the parameter section. This is the portion from within the lobby that somebody who is logged in as an admin can get access to. Now, originally the parameters section had these performance-based settings up here, and this is basically some flags for turning on and off stuff. Volcanoes, I don't think was ever a thing. It was something that that the original writer was working on, and I want to say that he told me that it worked great on his test bed that he had set up locally, but when he tried to do it in a multiplayer setup, it had far too deleterious of an effect on performance, like far too negative, so it was something that was shut off. Other than that, you've got some things like view distance and grass, but I've got stuff added in there that that you can actually actually bypass all that. Game settings. These originally said BDC specific settings, but I'm changing them to be something more generic to fit the mission rather than, hey, this is a BDC hacked up type thing. And that's for basically once it goes back on the workshop. So I've added in a bunch of different things. The most significant, this will be for people who have played this in the past, is the mission time of day flag here. I made a night mode for this early on, and it was a challenge to get the tides right. The water is technically already risen several feet, but you kind of sort of almost don't notice it. Maybe 3 or 4 feet or something like that. But otherwise, the starting helicopter, excuse me, the starting helicopter has a bunch of chem lights around it. It has a little bit better gear in it and a chance for some nods, night vision in it too, and stuff like that. But otherwise, it takes place at night, and so it's a night version of this, and it's considered kind of more of a hardcore type thing over the day mode. So the challenge there is being able to see where the heck you're going. I did another option here for play as civilians, and that's intended to be a hardcore mode as well. It basically redresses your guys and changes the starting vehicle. So instead of having that wrecked out Ghost Hawk with some gear in it and stuff, and you're all blue for Arma dudes or whatever, in this one you play as civilians. And I think I did it. I configured it based on the slot in the lobby that you pick. You start off much less armed and much less equipped, and so it's a more difficult type starting thing. Dynamic weather generator, I pulled that in from my Resistance Plus mission and made it to where it's configurable so we can change maximum wind, fog, and rain to really kind of make the weather really thrashy. ArmAGeddon effects intensity is something I threw in there. Normal degree, and it's basically what this does is this modifies randomized timers for when the next event of tornado, earthquake, meteor strikes, that kind of thing occurs. Relentless is pretty much it's on all the time type thing, and so if you really want a really hardcore experience, you'd throw that up. Loot pile spawn probability, it's pretty self-explanatory. That's something I wrote in. Disable refuel at all gas stations, so you can't simply pull up to a gas station and grab gas. You have to actually find the cans out in the field. Disabling all of the lights on the map. That's something that you can enable and then set a delay timer for when it occurs. How far into the mission. Some specific fuel can efficiency variables here. So one little tiny fuel can doesn't fill up, the half of a fuel tank of a 737 that you may use in the mission if you customize it or whatever, that kind of thing. Let's see, old style crash spawner I pulled in for Resistance Plus. It's inspired by DayZ. That's just another way of being able to grab loot, but it's more of a quick grab and go type thing. And there's some things there you can do. Random vehicle spawner. It adds additional stuff out in the field. That you can do, and they're separated by 3 groups. The spawn boats thing, I don't know if at this point it's 100% or not, and the last time I messed with spawning boats in Arma 3 in build 1.88, I had a lot of issues with trying to get them in the water right. They'd nose down and float back up and shoot back up, and they were basically dead to begin with, and I don't know if I'm going to leave this in here or not. I may wind up ditching it. Specific vehicle spawner is something that if you go and modify the main configuration file that I've added in here to kind of collate a lot of these values, like let's say if you want to hack up the mission yourself and customize it around a certain mod for civilian aircraft, let's say it's something I played with, then you can make specific spawn points rather than randomized stuff around the island. So that's kind of a cool thing. Let's see. Spawn attack aircraft, that's if you want to have things like hostile enemy CAS or anti-air jets, COS choppers, CSAT stuff, things like that. Anywho, I apologize for the sniffling and the coughing, getting over a cold here. So there's some variables on that. So that's all the stuff that I've added in that can be quickly configured. There's a bunch of other stuff that I've done in here so far. There's some things that I'm going to clear off and unwrite now that I've gotten better access to everything in here. And I'll have everything organized underneath either a BDC specific folder, or I'll rename it to depersonalize it away from me. But there will be a main config underscore ArmAGeddon.sqf file in there that a mission modifier can go in there and look up and change stuff in. And it's all about AI balancing stuff, definitions of squad types, of the types of squads that can be randomly spawned out in the field. I believe I even put in there the variability of the types of helicopters, transport birds that can be used for CSAT, just all sorts of stuff. And the loot tables are also modifiable for the crash spawner, and also for the gear that spawn out in the houses and things like that. So I'm trying to make this as malleable as possible, but also be functional. So at this point, I did fix one of the major problems that I saw people complaining about in the comments of the mods in the workshop about AI no longer spawning. And the way it was originally written is it was written to automatically draw data, draw class names of groups from configuration based on the OP4 names given for, like, recon squad, recon patrol, infantry squad, fire team, I think, some stuff like that. And I went through there and I spent a couple of hours trying to nail down wherever this bug was, and I went through step by step by step, and I never could figure out what was causing it. But something there was returning an error in the original function that wouldn't give the configuration data back to give it the list of the kinds of guys. Like, let's say in a fire team, you'd have one AA guy, one AT guy, two riflemen, one combat lifesaver, and say one team lead. Sorry for the loud intro. That thing's already loud. Anyway, I never could find it. So what I did was I wound up bypassing it and then rewriting it and throwing it into my own configuration data file stuff. So you can more easily now customize the different types of squads for CSAT if you want to keep it that. Now, again, this is going to be something that'll be set up to be configurable by a mission maker, to where you can use all sorts of different types of mods and unit types and stuff like that. But I made it to where you can define a group, call it fire team, and then say, hey, it needs to have one squad lead, one AA, one AT, one heavy machine gunner, one auto rifleman, one a combat lifesaver, whatever, that kind of thing like that. So it's much easier to deal with now. Starting chopper gear, none of this stuff is really modified. Since the name of this type of mission is meant to be more on the hardcore side of things, let me turn that down a little bit. It's not intended to be something where you're completely decked out to begin with. There has to be a little bit of a challenge to this. So I am, however, probably going to exercise my admin authority in some of this, just to display stuff that's going on. Another thing I added in here is I added in the Arma AC admin package, and this is the script version of it, and I can't remember the gentleman who wrote it, but I will find his name and I will link this into the workshop item, and I'll probably link it here in the video once I get all that stuff sorted. But this is one that I pulled over from Resistance Plus. I incorporated that into that campaign mission, and so it allows some basic admin functions for an administrator, although they're probably not going to be needed for things. This is probably going to be more of a test thing. I mean, this isn't necessarily a military mission. There's no accrual of real assets. This is an escape from thing, and it's a chaotic thing, and so we're trying to get off the island as quick as possible. So it's a fight against the clock. There's not a lot of standing around. Let me spawn this. Let me do that. That kind of thing. So let's see, where did we start? We started near Molos. I'll go ahead and teleport over there real quick. Let's see. All right. So I do have some dress up in here where I've got a lot of cars that are on fire that are spawned in. I think, if I recall correctly, some of that may be from the vehicle spawner, and it might actually be spawning some of those in busted. But it does add a cool effect. in the last few times I ran through this several days ago, a vehicle's in. So I can't complain about it, you know. So there you have it. Let's see. I think my headset may have just powered off and powered back on, and if it did, I wanted to make mention again of the arena vehicle spawner. There's plenty of stuff out here to nab. It's not necessarily a matter of finding a vehicle to drive. It's more about trying to get a that doesn't look right. It's more about trying to get a vehicle that will have fuel and that sort of thing like that. That doesn't look right over there. I know this is a recording that's supposed to explode, so there might be something hung up on the server over here. I don't know yet. This is still just a test run. One thing I may add on here is a small package that I wrote. I've got another video for it, and I've got it up on Google Drive and all that. It's called SC Framework, Server Client Framework. It's for managing AI and headless clients and stuff like that. I wouldn't add it on here for that necessarily, because this is a more simple type thing. There's not a lot of AI. We don't have 200 AI running around and stuff like that, but I would add it on here for being able to watch server performance type stuff. Come on, baby. So here's an example of one of these types of vehicles I can spawn in. Much of this is left unchanged. I may have done a slight bit of dress up to random vehicle spawn generation and things like that, but otherwise it's functionally the way it was. You get in a vehicle that's going to be, you know, jacked up quite a bit and low on gas and that kind of thing like that. So there's nothing that's really different in that department. One of my principal things when I go in, if I modify a mission for any reason, it is always for balance and configurability, but primarily, my main primary thing is to stick to the original theme of whatever the original content creator wrote. You know what I mean? Whatever they're trying to do. I don't want to deviate from that. So this remains a challenging, even potentially hardcore, frantic type of experience. That's what the original writer, I think, was going for here. And so the stuff that I do in this mission, and any of the corrections I make and things like that, it's not to stray away from any of that. So you're not going to find giant crates, you know, full of, you know, 18 guns and 5,000 rounds of ammo and tons of rockets and, you know, stuff like that. It's still the exact same thing. The island's sinking and stuff is blowing up everywhere, and you know, there's earthquakes and buildings are shattering and everybody's dying and yelling and you know, all that kind of thing like that. So none of that's going to be different. Let's see. I think the last time I was messing with this, I was trying to make sure that the AI were spawning in correctly, and I want to say that was the case. I've been playing a lot of other games, and so my head's not been in this. But I want to say that was the case. Good toolkit, all that stuff's there. One thing I did do also that I just remembered is, and I saw this from some of the I don't know if you call them complaints, but rather statements or some questions or inquiries about updating the gear that can pop up in here, weaponry and some other stuff to reflect some of the newer things. I did that. I did go through and I added a bunch of the Marksman DLC rifles, and let's see, I heard something over there. Sounded like a vehicle was running. Maybe it was my truck and I just am deaf or something. But anyway, I added some of the Marksman DLC stuff in there. I added that new ADR 97. It's like that P90 type of little short-barreled SMG. I threw that in there, and I tried to throw just as much as I could in here to really flesh this thing out, and that was really freaking close. Yes, the lightning works. All the disaster ArmAGeddon effects work. It's really cool. I was inside one of these buildings doing a test, I don't know, it was 4 or 5 days ago, and a earthquake came through, and I had to run out real fast, and the building fell, and all that. It's all really nasty. But I'm playing this on default settings just to kind of showcase what's going on here. Let's see. I'm gonna grab teleport over to. Let's get to over here, and then let's see. Where's my GPS? I'm gonna go east, and let's look and see what the water's doing real quick. I'm gonna spawn in a test vehicle, maybe a quad bike or something like that. Nothing fancy, just something I can tool around in here rather than running on foot to show this off. Yeah, as far as additions, I was talking about that a minute ago. There's not been a lot in the way of vehicles. I know there's been tanks, DLC, and jets and stuff like that, but that stuff doesn't necessarily fit in here, other than maybe using for one of the configuration things I was showing earlier with the hostile aircraft thing. Maybe configuring that new, what is it, I think the 201 or something like that, Shikra, that new bird. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, you can do that. I want to say in here, when I originally did this, I did have a small amount of CSAT and Blue 4 armor just to kind of better, I don't know what the word is, to make it look slightly bit more authentic in terms of, hey, this is a combat area. This entire area is full of combat from Blue 4 and CSAT, so I wanted to reflect some of the assets that you can find in the field with respect to that combat. So there's an earthquake right there. There's a dead off-road. Yeah, the earthquake effects are working. I did verify the tornado's working. I did fix the sound for it. The sound on the tornado now is directional rather than a global in both ears of your headphones type thing. So you can tell where it's coming from and you can run away from it accordingly type thing. Let's see what else. There's a lot of small stuff that's done on this to really kind of flesh it out, to kind of slightly better color the frantic experience. And I think I just got shot at, didn't I? That may have been an AI guy. One thing up at this point, as of the time of this recording, I don't know yet if, yep, there's tracer fire. I'm getting shot at. I don't know yet if there's if the transport birds for a CSAT are working. I don't know if those are going yet. That's one thing that's still on my my list of stuff to look at. So let's see, what else can we do here? Oh yeah, there's a whole squad of bad guys there. I don't know what type of squad it is, and I don't care. There's a transport bird. Maybe they are working. I'm hoping that's not a bad echo on the map. Let me get the earplugs out here. Set the waypoint over this one up there. This may be loud in my headset, but it doesn't mean the recording necessarily is going to be. So, oh, the transport birds may be working. This is really good to know. You know what? It'd probably be a good idea for test purposes that I throw myself in the god mode. Okay. Okay, let's see if they actually load up and. The sound that is a little bit loud. Okay, let's see if he gets out of town. There he goes. Alright, good deal. So those are working then. Okay, I remember having to look at them and do something on them, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was something having to do with simulation caching and stuff like that. But that's good to know if they work. So we got a couple of major things already knocked out. I think from here, I need to go back through and check my list again. I did have a fairly decent-sized list of things that I wanted to do. A lot of it is just under the hood code cleanup. Or most of it rather, is mine. I need to go through and better collate everything and better organize the stuff that I originally wrote, make it easier for somebody else to go through there and make changes and modifications to configuration easily and things like that. Say if somebody wants to set this up for cut mods and, you know, make this a NATO versus Russian thing, or, you know, Americans versus Russian, I don't know, you know, whatever. I mean, people like to do all sorts of stuff. There are some Star Wars units out there that would probably like a clones versus CIS version of this. You know, that'd be kind of a cool thing. I don't know if they have something like that for this yet. Let's see. One thing I considered putting in here was randomized civilian spawns, something where you have a chance of seeing, a few civilian guys unarmed and all that, and they're just running around aimlessly, scattered about type thing. I considered doing something like that as a dress up thing, and would also give the CSAT guys something else to shoot at. Now that I think about it, but the tides are working, all that stuff's good. The water's rising here, and it's slowly flooding the area out. Let's go look at the main airport. The lights thing should disable itself in half an hour, but I'm not going to wait around that long to check it. This is just meant to be kind of an update preview of here's what's coming, and hopefully I can get this thing back into its original shape, or as close as possible to where this can be playable again, and downloadable, simple to set up on a server and run, for anybody else who isn't, Arma 3 code savvy and all that jazz. Let's see, we can make a loop pass through the airport here real quick. I probably should have tested this with the effects up. I do like the random chunks of smoke out at range. That's pretty cool. That gives it more of a what's the eerie, creepy feeling that everything's falling apart, even though you already know everything is. Let's see, pack. Get some sound back on here. I did import some of my key commands from CO18 Resistance Plus, namely kind of quality of life gaming type stuff, hotkeys for being able to quickly switch to sidearms and launchers. I don't have any of those, but most importantly, holstering, and then also toggling earplugs, and it's real simple piece of code. I, however, did not pull in auto running. I wanted to keep the more visceral feel of actually having to move your own guy rather than auto run all the way across the map and go into lazy mode type thing. So I did not pull that in. Crap! There's an earthquake. There we go. Let's see. Name tags, toggle display group settings. There's some squad management stuff you can do in here, although it'll probably not be used. You can change your view distance, and you can change your rates of grass, and most people will just turn it off for something like this. And let's see, there are some additional admin options if you're configured. You have to use your Steam UID for that. I might wind up pulling some of these things out, as they're primarily used for test mode stuff. Being able to kill all the CSAT stuff within a kilometer if you have a bunch of squad guys and you just want to, wipe them out because you're busy doing something else or whatever. So there's a few of those types of things in here. Nothing real fancy, but something to aid an admin if they're trying to get everything configured right and tested and balanced out before they host it for their guys. So anyways, I don't think there's really much else here to show. Again, this is the ArmAGeddon mod for Arma, written by Super Trueat. Very, very nice gentleman that has graciously decided to invite me to his small little mod group. And this is a review on, or not a review, rather a, whatever the word is. I just said it a minute ago and now I can't remember it. This is a preview, there we go, a preview of the mission for ArmAGeddon that I'm attempting to clean up and add some functionality to and everything like that. So those that are still interested in mod can play this again. So hope you guys watch and enjoy the video. I love making these things, and I do a lot of content for Arma, primarily a campaign mission stuff, but I like to do side project stuff like this as well. It's a lot of fun to get in here and mess with things and get my hands dirty and have fun. Have fun and take a break from the regular military stuff and do something like this, like ArmAGeddon. It does fill a certain need, that whole hardcore I gotta survive and get out of here frantic type thing. We crave it once every few months type thing. This isn't something you play every day. You would probably pull your hair out or die a quick and early death if you did. But anyway, hit those like and subscribe buttons. I'm adding content all the time, and For anybody here, especially mission makers or anybody else who's interested in playing this, leave comments, ask questions. I'll answer everything I can, and I'll be updating the mission item on or workshop entry rather on the Steam Workshop for this. So I'll probably be linking the video over there as well to try and get some talk and some action going on this. So thank you very much for watching the video and for your time. And again, if you have any comments or questions, leave them down in there, and I will provide information down in the description for the Steam Workshop items and that kind of thing like that. So have a good day, and thank you very much.